and Ron DeSantis, who's also the governor of Florida. Now, DeSantis is on the war path against common sense, it seems. I say this because of the state's new school curriculum and how the history of slavery will be taught in the U.S. now.
Welcome back to America Decides. There is national attention on Florida's new education standards that now include teaching middle school students that some enslaved people actually benefited from slavery. The new teaching guidelines are a result of legislation known as the Stop Woke Act that Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law last year. The bill required the rewriting of the state's education standards. Part of the new standards say students should be taught about the, quote, harsh conditions enslaved people endured, but also, quote, how slaves developed skills which, in some instances, could be applied for personal benefit, unquote. Vice President Harris has seized on the issue in recent days in a series of appearances across the country. Last Friday, she traveled to Florida to draw more attention to the issue, and today in Chicago, she condemned the changes yet again.
And for these extremists, that was not enough. They now push forward revisionist history. They push propaganda. They suggest that enslaved people benefited from slavery as they insult us in an attempt to gaslight us. Well, we will not have it.
Welcome back to Black Discoveries. Let's talk about this important discussion on the significance of Black history in education. In recent years, there has been a disturbing trend of efforts to restrict the teaching of Black history in schools. This video aims to shed light on the motivations behind this resistance and, by examining the historical context, highlight the crucial role of Black history in education. Take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel as we continue in this important conversation about the significance of Black history in education. The historical context. In early 2022, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law the Individual Freedom Act, also known as the Stop Woke Act, placed restrictions on the teaching of race and gender in public schools. DeSantis has made several controversial statements about Black history in schools. The law has been widely criticized for its potential to chill free speech and limit the teaching of important topics, including Black history. One of the key provisions of the law is the requirement that all school districts in Florida adopt instructional materials that are consistent with the principles that all individuals are created equal, and that no race, ethnicity, sex, or origin is inherently superior or inferior to another race, ethnicity, sex, or origin. Critics of the law argue that this provision is vague and could be used to ban the teaching of Black history, which we say is essential to understanding American history and society. DeSantis has defended the law, arguing that it is important to protect students from being indoctrinated with woke ideology.
We want to do history. That's what our standards for Black history are. It's just cut and dried history. You learn all the basics, you learn about the great figures, and I view it as American history. I don't view it as separate history.
We told you last week about the latest move by Governor Ron DeSantis to control the type of education that Florida students can receive, rejecting an advanced placement course in African American studies, claiming it was, quote, contrary to Florida law, and if you can believe it, significantly lacking educational value. We see and hear you, Ron. The law he refers to seems to be the Stop Woke Act, which basically gives DeSantis the power to downplay the actual racial history of our country to appease those who look more like, well, Ron DeSantis. For many teachers, this assault on the education system is instilling fear of teaching the true history of our country, and even Florida's history of racial violence, as depicted in this dystopian ad from the advocacy group Equality Florida.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will be judged by the content of their character. I have a dream.
Miss George, why is this part crossed out?
But there are some in the state who refuse to back down, like Marvin Dunn, one of the preeminent historians in Florida, who is saying, bring it on. Dunn, a professor emeritus at Florida International University, is taking it upon himself to, as he says, teach the truth by leading statewide tours of high school students and their parents to the sites of some of the worst racial violence in Florida's history. Sites that some of these students say they have never heard about in their own classrooms. Dunn is also one of the 8 plaintiffs in a lawsuit over the Stop Woke Act law. He told the Washington Post, quote, listen, if there is such a thing as the woke mob in Florida, I aspire to lead it.
However, his critics say that the law is simply an attempt to whitewash history and silence the voices of marginalized groups. The Individual Freedom Act is currently facing legal challenges, and it remains to be seen whether it will be upheld by the courts. However, the law has already had a chilling effect on free speech in Florida schools, and it is likely to continue to have a significant impact on the teaching of race and gender in the state. Specific actions DeSantis has taken to try and ban Black history from Florida schools include signed into law the Individual Freedom Act, which restricts the teaching of race and gender in public schools. Appointed conservative education officials who are likely to support his agenda on race and history called for a review of all instructional materials in Florida schools to ensure they comply with the Individual Freedom Act, pressured school districts to cancel or postpone events related to Black history and culture. DeSantis has also defended his administration's decision to reject an advanced placement, AP, African American Studies course. The course was developed by the College Board, a non-profit organization that develops standardized tests and curriculum frameworks for K-12 education. DeSantis argued that the course was woke indoctrination and that it violated Florida law. These actions have been met with widespread criticism from educators, historians, and civil rights activists.
You learn to love America by learning the truth. The good, indifferent, and bad.
I just want to read the text again of what Florida is now requiring for middle school students. It says instruction should include, quote, how slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their own personal benefit.
How can it be for your personal benefit when you're treated as an enslaved person? It's not like, oh, I'm a blacksmith. Okay, I'm going to put a shingle out there and I'm going to be a blacksmith. You were owned by Mazza. If you're talking about the history of this country, United States of America, how can you just like, a pun, white out enslavement? How can you do that?
They argue that DeSantis' efforts to ban Black history are an attempt to erase the contributions of African Americans to American society. They also argue that DeSantis' actions are harmful to students of all races, as they deprive them of the opportunity to learn about an important part of American history. The debate over Black history in schools is likely to continue for many years to come. It is a complex issue with no easy answers. The crucial role, Black history, is an essential part of American history. It is a story of resilience, innovation, and the ongoing struggle for equality. By understanding Black history, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the diversity of our nation and the contributions of all Americans. The benefits. Black Americans have been a part of American society since the very beginning, and their contributions have shaped the country in countless ways. By teaching Black history, it helps the students to have a complete and accurate account of American history. The United States is a multicultural society, and Black history is an important part of that diversity. By teaching Black history, which can help them to develop a stronger sense of identity and understand the different cultures that make up the United States. Racism is still a problem in society, and Black history can help to understand the roots of racism. By teaching Black history, It helps students to develop a critical understanding of race and racism. It helps students to learn about social justice. By learning about the history of slavery and other forms of oppression, students can learn about the importance of social justice. Black history is full of stories of people who have overcome adversity and achieved great things. By teaching Black history, it can inspire students to achieve their own dreams. Why the resistance? There are a number of reasons why there is resistance to teaching Black history in schools. Some of the most common reasons include whites' fear and guilt. Some white people fear that teaching Black history will make white students feel guilty or ashamed of their race. They may also believe that teaching Black history will promote reverse racism or Black supremacy, a desire to protect a sanitized version of history. Some people believe that teaching Black history will undermine a positive image of America. They may believe that it is necessary to ignore the negative aspects of American history, such as slavery and racism, in order to maintain a sense of national pride. A belief that Black history is not relevant. Some people believe that Black history is not relevant to all students. They may argue that it is only important for Black students to learn about Black history. A lack of resources. In some cases, there is a lack of resources available to teach Black history effectively. This can include a lack of textbooks, training for teachers, and support from school administrators. The consequences. There are a number of consequences of not teaching Black history in schools. These consequences include a lack of understanding of American history. Black history is an integral part of American history. By not teaching Black history, students are deprived of a full understanding of the country's past. A perpetuation of racism. By not teaching Black history, we risk perpetuating racist stereotypes and attitudes. Students who are not exposed to Black history are more likely to develop negative views of Black people. A lack of empathy. Teaching Black history can help students to develop empathy for others. By learning about the experiences of Black Americans, students can gain a better understanding of the challenges faced by people of color. A lack of preparation for the real world. Black history is not just about the past. It is also about the present. By not teaching Black history, students will not be prepared to live in a diverse and multicultural society. How to overcome the resistance. There are a number of things that can be done to overcome resistance to teaching Black history. These include educating the public. It is important to educate the public about the importance of teaching Black history. This can be done through public awareness campaigns, workshops, and community forums. Providing resources. Schools need to be provided with the resources they need to teach Black history effectively. This includes textbooks, training for teachers, and support from school administrators. Holding school districts accountable. School districts need to be held accountable for teaching Black history. This can be done through legislation, school board policies, and community pressure. Supporting Black teachers. Black teachers play a vital role in teaching Black history. It is important to support Black teachers and provide them with the resources they need to succeed. How to teach Black history in schools. There are many ways to teach Black history in schools. Here are a few ideas. Teach Black history as a part of American history, not as a separate subject. This will help students to understand that Black history is an integral part of American history. Use a variety of teaching methods, such as lectures, discussions, readings, and documentaries. This will help students to learn in different ways and to engage with the material. Invite Black guest speakers to share their stories with students. This will help students to connect with Black history on a personal level. Take students on field trips to Black historical sites. This will help students to experience Black history firsthand. Encourage students to learn about Black history outside of the classroom. This could include reading books, watching movies, or visiting museums. Resources for teaching. The Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. The Schomburg Center is a renowned library and research center that houses a vast collection of materials on Black history. The National Museum of African American History and Culture. It is a Smithsonian museum that tells the story of African Americans from the earliest times to the present day. The Black History Network is a website that provides resources for teaching Black history, including lesson plans, activities, and multimedia resources. The Zinn Education Project. The Zinn Education Project is a website that provides resources for teaching people's history, including Black history. Conclusion. Black history is an important part of education. By teaching Black history, we can help students to understand the diversity of our nation, to fight racism, and to achieve their own dreams. I encourage all educators to make Black history a part of their curriculum. The resistance to teaching Black history in schools is a serious problem. However, it is a problem that can be overcome by educating the public, providing resources, holding school districts accountable, and supporting Black teachers. We can ensure that all students have the opportunity to learn about the rich history of Black Americans. Thank you so much for watching this video on the significance of Black history in education. It is an essential part of our history, and understanding it can help us create a more just and equitable society for all. If you found this video informative, please like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. I hope you enjoyed this discussion on the importance of Black history in education. Remember, education is the key to unlocking our potential and creating a better future for all. Until next time, stay informed and stay safe.